So I'm going to introduce first Drew DePalma, who appears in this film. He's the son of Gene DePalma. Drew was 17 on September 11th, and I've had him on my show before. He's got a very interesting story to tell, so let's add him into the stream. Welcome, Drew.
How's it going?
Good, good. And he's joined also by Bob McIlvaine, has been very outspoken over the years, as this audience knows. He's the father of Bobby McIlvaine, who was 26, killed as he was entering the North Tower lobby on that morning. We have the Bobby McIlvaine Act here at AE911Truth draft legislation that if one courageous congressman, and you might be watching tonight, you might want to keep it a secret from your peers, but you might be watching tonight. One courageous congressman or congresswoman steps forward and introduce this legislation, we could have a new investigation and do the right thing by these families. So, Bob, I want to welcome you to the stream.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, Drew.
Hey, how's it going, Bob?
So we're also joined by, let me see here, Bill Brinnier. He's an architect. He's also appears in this film. He's the best friend of Frank DiMartini. They became best friends studying at Pratt. And let's bring him on into the stream here. Hello, Bill.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Bill.
Good to see you all.
And we've got one more person to add, and that is Michele Little. And where is she? Okay. She's the sister of FDNY firefighter David M. Weiss, ladder 1. And she does not appear in this film, but she does have a lot to say. So let's bring her in.
Hi, that's David M. Weiss.
Oh, excuse me.
Rescue 1, Midtown Manhattan.
All right, very good. So, people, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I know we've had a lot of technical glitches going on this evening. You've been very patient with us. Unfortunately, we don't have the corporate media helping us. We don't have the government helping us. This is what you get. But I think we do a pretty good job with what we have here. So I'm going to just open up some questions, and I may address some to specific people. Some might be for the group. I'll definitely say your name before asking a specific question to you. One of the first things I found interesting in this film, this is to Bob. You mentioned that it feels like you're almost ordained to do this, direct quote. And I'm talking about the work you've done in pursuing a new 9/11 investigation. Can you talk about that a little bit?
It's tough to talk about. I guess it's so frustrating because not many people are doing it. And it almost seems that I think that's why I'm ordained to do it, because you've been chosen to do it because no one else is.
Exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
And there's a reason for that. It just takes up, it takes up most of my life. And who can make that choice to do that? Now I have grandkids and all, I can do that more often, but it's just, it's brutal. And if you're a young person, like you can't possibly do this all the time. I can. I can put 10 hours a day in easily. That's what I've done. I've traveled the world. I've been everywhere in the world, seeing people talking about this, and I've had that opportunity to do that. So, I'm just like it, just because I'm a grandfather, and it just happened to be that way.
Right. And I think it takes a very special kind of person to take up this challenge. It's something that's not very socially popular. It's gotten a little bit more acceptable over the years, I've noticed, but there's just certain types of people that will take up the call and don't care about societal pressure, don't care what kind of traps and insults the corporate media and the entire establishment creates for it. So, we thank everybody who takes up that challenge. And sometimes it's going to feel very lonely, but we are a community here. Drew, you said in this film that you wanted to keep your head in the sand for a number of years until you met a representative here at AE911Truth at a conference. Now, what in the points made by AE911Truth and the evidence stuck with you enough to make you come out and begin to publicly challenge the official narrative of how the World Trade Center towers came down?
Like I said, I pretty much, it happened when I was in high school, and I really didn't want to give it much thought because it kind of just made me too depressed. So I just never really dug into it. I didn't watch the news about it, any of the movies, or read articles about it. So it was actually kind of news to me that this alternative narrative even existed. That in itself, I was like, wow, this is a real thing. And it wasn't just conspiracy theorists, it was architects and engineers, some of the, people that I work with, I respect both those professions. And if, there's people out there that have science behind them to back up this alternative narrative, I was more than willing to, dig deeper and do my own due diligence and see what was what. I did enough to, to convince myself that, there was something else going on. That's why, I wanted to get more involved and see what I could do. Bob said, he's got the time to really dig into it and make a difference. I've made not nearly as much of a difference as he has, or done the research he was able to do, but, just being part of this film and, stuff, being involved in the organization, I'm doing what I can with the time I have available.
So is a lot of people, and we appreciate you for that. I've heard the expression, and this was out of old World War II propaganda, so not necessarily a good source, but it's a good message to apply to 9/11 Truth, is that small things done well every day are going to be what win it for us. And it's the culmination of so many people doing the small things, just a little bit, whether you put out the literature on a subway seat, for someone else to pick up, or just talking to a friend about it. It spreads the word, you plant the seeds, and then the returns come back in ways you might not expect or even see for yourself. Now, Bill, your relationship with Frank was obviously very deep and has inspired you to take up this call for a new 9/11 investigation to appear in this film and speak out about it. Can you talk a little bit more about that relationship?
Certainly. Frank and I met when we were, teenagers. I think I was 20 years old and he was 18 years old at the time. And we had a relationship that was extremely close. We worked together, summers, we just did so much together that we were inseparable. I had lost 2 brothers. I'm the oldest of 4 boys, and 2 of my brothers are gone. And that was dreadful. When I was 27 years old, my 24-year-old brother took his own life, and that knocked me for a loop. And Frank helped me get through that. 10 years later, my youngest brother died from an undiagnosed disorder that turned him into an old man at 28 years old. He died in a nursing home. He was just skin and bone. It was dreadful. My poor parents, what they went through, and I just thought, well, I've been through that, and I could go through anything. But I have to say, when I lost, it was worse than losing my 2 brothers. Because Frank was the guy that I talked to every day. He was the guy I wanted to grow old with. I wanted to sit on a front porch with him and, smoke a pipe when I was in my 90s, chatting with him about the good old days. And, I was denied that. That was taken away from me on 9/11. We get in this life, one or 2 really close friends that we cherish. And Frank was my absolute best friend, and we had that kind of relationship. We both were like brothers. I knew his parents. I knew his whole family. We still get together. They still consider me a member of the family. My mother couldn't go to Frank's memorial. She said it's like losing another child. I can't do it. And she didn't go. I was kind of heartbroken about that she didn't, but she didn't. I have to thank my wife, Shelley. She was so encouraging in terms of getting me to find like-minded people and to get together with them. And anytime I'm asked to do something by the AE911 group, I do it. I got a call from Ted Walter at one point a few years back that there was an event, a press conference in Canada, in Ottawa, at the National Legislature, and he wanted to know if I could fly up there, and I dropped everything. I ran to New York. I got on a plane at LaGuardia, and I flew to Ottawa, and I did that. I'd met a lot of great people up there. I remember meeting Graham McQueen and having lunch with him and spending time chatting with him. I've met so many wonderful people and learned so much. There's just too many things for us to uncover, and it's too much for one person. But together we can do this. This is a we thing. I can't believe what Bob has done. Bob, you blow my mind. You have been, the workhorse, as it were. And Ted and Richard and all the people at AE911. And the fact that the fact that we got this movie made, and so many movies. I've appeared in several of the films that we've done, and it's always been a pleasure. And as a matter of fact, there's a piece out now by Spike Lee, and he knew Frank, and he knew me. He knew of me, and he asked me to come in and be part of that. And it's called NYC Epicenter 9/11 through 2021 and a half, and that was a real honor. It was great to meet him. Frank and I used to park our motorcycles in the building that he has now. He's turned it into a studio. It's his world headquarters, and it used to be a parking garage. It's just there's a lot to unravel here, and I like to think that there are ways to convince people in a rational way that what we were told happened that day, that terrible day in New York and other places. But we're mainly concerned with New York because we're looking at the evidence. And the evidence, the story that was told, does not square with the evidence on the ground. In order for what we were told to have actually happened, the laws of physics would have had to take the day off. It's just completely impossible. And we have the science behind it. And, this whole conspiracy theorist thing, I have to laugh at it. They've weaponized that term and turned it into a device that, tends to divide the population and, put us in a bad light. They can do that all they want. It's not going to stop me. It's not going to stop Bob. It's not going to stop Drew. It's not going to stop any of us. It really has no effect on how we feel about this. I have to say, personally, I think our chances of success are not that good, but that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that I stand up for the right thing. Is that I defend the truth. I'm out for the truth. I truly feel that it is only the truth that can set us free. And as long as that's withheld, we're not in a position to understand who we are as a people and where we stand on this planet. It's so important to continue that fight, to continue to push, to find out, what really happened. We can argue all we want about who did it. That comes later. The first thing we have to do is find out what happened. And, we need to open the books. Our president today is claiming that he's going to open the books, Several of the presidents in the past have claimed that they would do it when they were on the campaign trail, but when they got into office, that all went out the window. We'll see what this guy does. I don't have a lot of faith in politicians when they get to that level. I just feel like they have to play the party line. And when I say party, I don't mean Republican, Democrat. I mean they have to maintain what the power elite in this nation feel is the way to go. And right now, the way to go for them is to conceal the truth about 9/11 and what actually happened that day.
Right. And you mentioned that term conspiracy theorist. I know most of the audience here hates hearing that term. For me, I love it because what it means is I've already won the argument. It means that the opposition is so bankrupt of an argument that this is all that they have. And for me, the case has already been made. I mean, the science has proven it. So many evidence points that we've put out over the years. The case has been made for the explosive demolition of these towers. To me, now it's just a psychological issue, and it's a societal issue. Getting over these roadblocks put up by corporate media, by government officials who just don't want to do their job and address these very reasonable and very important questions by people like yourselves. Now, Ted's watching me in the background here, keeping an eye on me. Did we lose Michele here? Because I just noticed the screen. Where is she? Let's put her back in. Hey, Michele.
Hey, Michele.
I am so sorry. I've been looking at my paper and the camera, so I did not see you were gone there. But I have a question for you. My question is, in the aftermath of 9/11, as you know, the media and the U.S. government talked a lot about the sacrifices of first responders who answered the call that day, and as they should. Now, in your view, as the sister of a firefighter who died there, what's your take on the media and government, constantly invoking the sacrifice of first responders while refusing to look deeper into what really caused their deaths?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I want to answer that question, and I really wasn't going to go into stuff like that with you, Andy, today. At first, I want to just recognize Bob and Drew and Bill. And Bob, I love you so much, and it's been so long since you and I have seen each other, and I just want to put out my heart to you and share with you my love. And Drew, I'm so sorry. I mean, you were so young, and I can understand why you wouldn't want to know more at that time of your life. And I'm so happy that you found AE and are here with us now. And Bill, with your friendship, I mean, how important that is. And I really think that that's the most important kind of conversation I want to have right now. I was asking, and forgive me, I'm not feeling the best. And there are so many things I want to share that's not specifically about your question, Andy, if that's all right with you.
This is your night.
So there's a few things that I want to share. First of all, Dylan Avery, the growth potential that he, how he started out was a kid. He was a kid just like you, Drew. And where he is today as a man, and the superb movie that he put out today, I'm just so honored to know him, and I'm thankful that he was able to provide us with such a beautiful film. And so I just want to put kudos out to Dylan as well. My brother was my best friend, and some people in the world might question that, and that's okay. And I have just a few things I want to share. Can I share my screen? Can you open that up for me to share that screen? And
yeah,
I think I can do it myself and see if it opens. But
sure.
Before I want to. There's a few photographs, and there's also David. So my brother, firefighter from FDNY Rescue 1, David Martin Weiss, was filmed in a couple of different things a month before 9/11 with a TV show called The Bravest, and also on 9/11 with the Leday brothers. What's their names? The French.
Oh, the No Day Brothers.
Day Brothers.
No Day Brothers, and he's in the North Tower, in the lobby, and I have video of him, and I'd like to share that now. And there's some photographs I just want to share. So am I good to share right now?
Yeah, I think, but I can't do it. So what you'll have to do is hit the share button at the bottom.
Yep, I know it. Okay, hold on, please.
Go ahead.
I'm going to share my screen. Screen is to monitor. Screen. Share screen. And let's see. I want to start with, I'm not sure which one's going to show up, but there's 5 different things I have opened through Facebook. So, so this one, can you see this?
Yeah, let's make it nice and big here.
Do you see the men here? And on the right side, it says the 9/11 silent walk. Are you all seeing the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I can't see you guys anymore. So it says, operating the North Tower on Tuesday, 9/11/2001, Rescue 1 lost 11 members. Members were reported to be on the uppermost floors and were last heard communicating with Squad 252. As Squad 252 was reportedly off a floor below them and heading up to assist them. Both perished that day. So this is just one of them that I want to share. The next one, and I don't know if it's going to let me do it from here, but I'm going to go ahead and share. This is, do you see the next slide?
I still see the same.
Okay,
Same
so
one.
I didn't think it was going to let you do that. So let me, hold on one second. I got to stop the share and come back to you guys and share my screen again and go to my Chrome, and I think I'm just going to go up the screen here and see what happens. This is my brother. This is David Martin Weiss, Rescue 1, and behind the Rescue 1 truck. And then I'm going to stop the screen again, so I can come back to you and show you the rest of what I want to show you. StreamYard, share, Chrome, going up the screen. Let's see what happens. It's the same picture. Okay, hold on. I'm so sorry. I thought that I would be a lot better at this than this.
I know. I think this is a very important thing to do because, again, it adds a story to the tragedy. You know, we hear about the nearly 3,000 people who died, and it becomes sort of this repetitive number that kind of gels in people's minds over the years. But to think about the fact that those nearly 3,000 people all had lives, they all had ambitions, hopes, dreams, and then one instant, you know, all of that changed. So I'd like to hear the stories, the personal stories of family members about people who were there on September 11th. And it's great to be able to look at their pictures as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get back to you guys, so bear with me. I'm so sorry again. Where are you? Here you guys are. All right, so I am looking for the video of my brother that I have set up here, and I'm trying to find out why I can't show it to you. So give me a moment. I have to open up this screen. Why can't I show you this screen? All right, I'm going to try one more time. And here we go.
Here we go.
I believe. Dang. Where'd it go?
Just took a while to load.
Oh, here it is. This is 13 seconds. I can't make it bigger because I can't get to it right now. But can it start? Darn it. Hold on. It's over here.
Wow.
This is my brother. Look at him. Watch. Looks right at you. No one gets me all the time. So he that was the last time we all saw him. There's also a photo, another frame of him in front of elevators, and with his very deep New York accent, he says, give me something to work with here. And if I could do an accent, I would do it, but I never had one, so I can't do one. But it's really important that people know that they were real. Now, David was never found either. He was gone. And if he was up on those higher floors, like your mom drew, we'll never know. We'll never know. And so the other thing I want to say is I haven't spoken out in 10 years. This is the first time I'm out here. I'm not really causing a riff, but I want you to know that in 2006, I was there in New York with my daughters. I live in California, and I met up with a woman named Penny Little, who is a filmographer and musician. And she had her beautiful, huge camera with her big speaker thing going. And she followed me down. I took her down with me down to the reflective pool. So those of us that don't know about the reflective pool, before Freedom Tower was built, we all met there. And then I think it was Pro Flowers that provided us with roses, lots of roses to bring down to the reflective pool. There were Sharpie pens down there. The reflective pool was made out of wood with plastic bag kind of thing on the inside, like a pool, and it had wood in between it, like a cross. And so after we spoke our families' names, we were able to go down the ramp, and volunteers would give us flowers, and we would go down into ground zero and share our feelings and love for each other as we went down and were there. We could spend as much time as we wanted there. We could meditate down there. I mean, it was busy. I'm talking thousands of people coming in, so I'm talking a busy place. And we had it happened every year, and it was beautiful. And we thought that it was, going to stay there for a while. You don't just take something like that down. And on September 11th, 2006, my daughters and I took Penny up to the family room that oversaw the ramp into the reflective pool. I have video. And you'll see at 5:25 p.m., 3 or 4 dark trucks coming down the ramp. We're talking on September 11th, when everybody had left, and they tore that reflective pool apart within 5 minutes, 10 minutes. They took the flowers, they threw them into one truck, they threw this over there, they let the water spill out, and then they left. And I shared this for, years ago, probably from 2006 to maybe 2010, sharing this piece with people, in conferences and everything, and nobody had anything to say. Nobody wanted to hear from family members. Nobody, the family members, they don't want to talk out there. They don't want anybody to hear what's happening. Stop putting the family members out into the media. And it's like, wait a minute, I put myself out there. I need people to know what happened and how I'm still feeling even today. That yesterday, people might say it's 20 years ago. Well, it's yesterday. It's as surreal as it was then as it is today. And I'm just in awe of people not knowing, and why the media doesn't cover things the way they should all of these years. And why do we wait for a anniversary or memorial to get together? It doesn't make any sense to me, and it makes me so angry that we, year after year, we could have done something. Year after year, if we knew that we could do a Zoom, we had to wait for this time to all come together and be able to talk with one another in a situation like this, because we can't be together. And if we were, maybe we wouldn't even be in the same room, because maybe some other workshop was happening. Another conference was going on I didn't get to. But here we have this opportunity to speak on a daily basis, a weekly basis, monthly, a yearly basis. Where are we at? We're grieving. People think that we're depressed. We're not depressed, we're grieving. And we've been grieving for years, and we haven't shared how that works. And I'm just for me, I started a new organization. I have this expo that I do every year now. It's called Beautiful Dying Expo, and it's about getting all your paperwork done. Take care of yourself. Be responsible for your body. Know what's going to happen next. Be. Don't leave a burden, and know what's going to happen next, or not know what's going to happen, but have the paperwork and be prepared. And that's what I'm doing now. And the last thing, there's two more things. One thing is about Building 7. I'm sorry, is no one talking about Building 7? Do you know that most people I speak to have no idea about Building 7?
Yeah.
Nobody, not one person. It's like, oh, did that happen? Oh, did a plane hit it? I'm like, no, a plane didn't hit it. Go to Google and check Building 7. And I'm not going to be the one doing it for you. Do your own research, because I've done enough in 20 years. And the last thing I want to share is a poem. And it's David's picture again. I don't know if you can see it. It's the one that I shared earlier. This is a picture of David and me when we were kids. Can I show it? Let's see.
Sure. Hold it right up.
There it is. Right? There we are, holding hands, laughing, everything's cool. And then at the bottom of this comes from my cousin, Tony. I kind of stole it and didn't give it back. But this is David when he was 13. My brother was built like a tank. My brother had arms like the size of my thighs, and my thighs are not huge, just so you know. He was an amazing firefighter. He was an amazing man. He was sarcastic. He made people laugh. He was just he knew his fires, and he was just like all the other rescue companies in New York. He was trained under Navy SEAL techniques, so they knew the ins and outs of all the buildings. He was in Midtown. And he knew, and his people, his brothers knew the ins and outs of the buildings. So for him not to come out alive with thousands of people behind him still fathoms me. And I miss him. I miss him desperately. He's got 2 beautiful children. That's another story. All right. Here's the story. Here's the poem. It's called The Men from Rescue 1. Honoring Captain Terry Hatton, Lieutenant Dennis Mohaka, Firefighter Joseph Angelini Sr., Firefighter William Henry, Firefighter Patrick O'Keefe, Firefighter Michael Montesi, Firefighter Jerry Nevins, Firefighter David Weiss, Firefighter Brian Sweeney, Firefighter Kenneth Marino, Firefighter Gary Goodell, and all their brothers. It's called The Men from Rescue 1. My heart was full of sorrow, like a circle round the sun, in memory of my brother and the men from Rescue 1. My candle burned in silence, in thoughts of yesterday, the love inside my brother's heart, the way we laughed and played. One picture-perfect morning, as terror filled the sky, he rushed into the fires of hell to save somebody's life. 11 fallen heroes who got the final call as I turned on my TV set to watch the towers fall. On the tree-lined streets of Brooklyn, the people stood and stared with flowers and photographs in the echoes of despair. Suspended in their disbelief in the evil that men do, the enemy that hides behind the eyes of me and you. The engine crushed in silence, chrome and crimson draped in black, remembering that tearful day America was attacked. Bagpipes play a solemn tune, and the people all salute a slow parade of fire trucks and brothers dressed in blue. I pray to God in heaven that heroes never die. Someone brave must lead the way so others may survive. My heart is proud and thankful, like the warm rays of the sun, in memory of my brother and the men from Rescue 1.
That's beautiful.
Very.
as I listen to you right now, I think about people. I've talked to people about September 11th. It's my job, and I've heard people say, we've gotten from hearing people say you shouldn't talk about that. It's completely wrong, evil to talk about physics and common sense when you boil it down, to saying, well, you might have a point, but it was 20 years ago. We've moved on. Who cares about that? I've actually had people say this to me. But when I listen to you talk about your brother, I know why I have this resolve, why an event that happened 20 years ago is still important for you and basically overall for the world as well, because we're still suffering the effects of September 11th to this day. I want to hear your responses to it, and whoever wants to chime in, please feel free to. But what's your response to somebody who says, well, you might have a point about the evidence there, but it was 20 years ago. Who cares?
I say next. I don't need that in my life anymore. I'm done. I don't care. You don't care. Well, you don't believe what I'm saying. You don't want to know. You're in the what do you call it, Drew? In the dirt, in the sand, right? Yeah.
Ostrich with their head in the sand.
Yes. I mean, I've tried to do that many times myself, and I can't. But yeah, I don't care. I don't care anymore.
I mean, people that aren't from this general geographic area, tri-state area, they really don't know, and I can understand, because people who dealt with Hurricane Katrina, that was a big thing for them down there, and I don't feel the way they do about that event. So I think that has a lot to do with it. For people that live in the New York general area, outskirts area, for them not to feel about this event is me. But to my surprise, when I found out about AE911Truth, the alternative narrative, surprisingly, a lot of people agreed. I was actually kind of shocked. I was like, "You guys knew about this?" Like, yeah, just didn't want to talk to you about it. But then once I opened my doors to it, there's a lot of people coming up to me and saying that they agreed. And I think I even saw a poll recently that 50% of America agrees that the official narrative is not the right one. So. Who knows?
Exactly.
Can I say something?
Sure, absolutely.
I think, at one time Eisenhower called it the military-industrial complex. Now it's the military-industrial media complex. And if people don't put any effort into it, they're not getting it at the media. And if the media doesn't report it, then obviously it couldn't have happened that way. And that's the major problem. I mean, the media has sold their souls. And if Eisenhower was around now, he would say, this is the military-industrial media world that we live in, our empire. And that's what empires do. So it's tough for people to spend time. I've had a lot of people ask me, but again, my son, 4 kids, how does he spend all this time that I spend? He can't do it. He can't relay that depression, that anger he has to his 4 kids. They're all young. And a lot of people are in that same situation. And I've had people come in town and said, I wish I could do it, but I'm a teacher. How do I go in the history class and say 9/11 was an inside job? Well, I'm fired. And go into work and say that. And plus, you have such a younger generation that's coming up now, they have no idea about anything. Well, how did they find out? Well, if you go to Fox and CNN, you're not going to find out anything. So it's really, you have to work hard to find out information about 9/11. Really work hard. And again, I don't blame the people. I blame the system. And the system, of course, is, I love this story. Oh, it must have been 10 years ago. I got a call from the Philadelphia Inquirer and the Daily News, the 2 papers in Philadelphia. And they wanted me to make a statement. I talked to them on the air. Both of them. I talked, on the radio. The first one said the editors won't allow it. He said, I'm quitting. And it's the honest to God truth. The woman from the Daily News called me back and said, you won't believe this. The Pentagon won't allow this to go out. So there's a lot of power out there that's just not letting this out. We can do our thing here, but again, we're not going to see it in the front pages anywhere. And the history teachers aren't going to teach it this way because they get fired. So it's almost impossible. You got to keep trying. I'll never give up. But it's brutal. It takes its toll on me. My health's getting bad, and that's for Drew. Like if you keep this up for the next 30 years, you'll be dead. No,
Nope.
no one
Nope.
listens. Yeah, I know, but I'm telling you, it's brutal. It really is.
It
brutal.
is. It is.
Yeah, we keep going here, and I know the hardworking staff here. We put a lot of our heart into it, and we do our best to give a very good performance or production here. But you sacrifice all that production quality and that perfection that you see on television for telling the truth. I mean, the people that you see on television, essentially, most of them are just reading teleprompters to you, and not really there to report. They're there to handle perceptions. So you might turn to one channel and they're telling you one side of the political issues, and then the other channel is telling you the other side. But you never step out of those clearly defined lines. You don't talk about things like physics and common sense here. Regarding the World Trade Center, they want you to just move on. They want you to remember the tragedy of that day. They want to invoke that tragedy, but they don't want you to question. And I actually had a reporter said some very not nice things to me. I think we captured it in last year's tribute video to AE911Truth. But he said that they were out there to just report on the tragedy that day, or on emotion. That's what they said, on emotion. We're just here to report emotion today. So they got what they needed out of it, and they moved on. That's my personal view. Another thing I hear people say, and I'm focusing not so much on the people that do completely disagree with me or stomp off when I talk about 9/11, but the people who say I have a point, the things that holds them back. They say, well, you might be right about the World Trade Center, but that cannot come out. I mean, think about what this will do to the United States and our place in the world, what it would do to our society if it ever came out that there were explosives in the towers, if it was ever widely acknowledged. Because of your connection to September 11th, it's very interesting to get your perspectives on that view. What do you have to say to those arguments? Do you think we would be, as a country and our standing in the world, would be better off or worse off? Again, and feel free to chime in, whoever wants to speak.
I'd like to go. First of all,
Sure.
the New York Times has an archived page after page after page of firefighters and EMTs and rescue workers who state that there were explosives. They heard explosives in the buildings. I mean, all you need is that. Isn't that all you need is to hear that they're telling you that there are explosives in the building? I mean, I know nothing about structural engineering or civil or any type of this, but I can tell you what I saw, and I could tell you that it didn't make any sense. And then you've got these firefighters and EMTs and all of these rescue people that states that they heard or felt explosives in the buildings. That's all I want to say. And you can go to the New York Times archive and find it yourself.
That's right. That's right.
You can tell right now.
So,
Can I truly believe this. I was in the bar business. You had a lot of bad people used to come to bars right in the middle of the city. And they used to beat the crap out of their kids. Then I would see the next generation come up and they would beat the crap out of their kids. And I would tell that kid, I said, you used to hate your father for doing that. And he said, yeah. He said, but it worked. I turned out okay. Well, I think it goes with this country. It's like your mother and father. You don't want to believe that they could be evil. And I think it's with the American people. If I keep talking about this, I mean, if you talk about history, the Belgian Congo, it just goes from World War II on. The interventions that we're going in the countries, making war all throughout Central and South America, all throughout Africa, all throughout Asia. And people don't want to look at this country as being, and I hate to use the word, but it is evil when they do these things. The people are good, but people are just satisfied that we're watching the TV shows we see every day. And it's the media's fault. They'll give you some news here and there, but underneath everything, what's happening in the past in Guatemala. A great story where I was down in Georgia, at Fort Benning, Georgia, speaking down there. And people from South and Central America. I was with a general from Argentina who would talk about what they would do with prisoners. They take them on a plane. If they didn't confess, they would dump them in the ocean. Yet he's telling these stories, and the stories just go on and on and on and on. But we allow these things, and they're not reported. So that's the biggest problem. Because what can anyone say? No one can speak up because they don't know anything. It's not reported. You have to work hard to find out what's happening around the world on a day-to-day basis. And who in the heck has the time to do that? And that is the biggest problem to me.
Right. And something I will say, just from my own understanding of history, and I don't claim to be some expert scholar on it, but that's what I look into in my spare time, is there have been atrocities in this country before, terrible things in our history. I mean, we can probably think of 3 of them right off the top of our heads if we just ponder it for a moment. And how do we handle it now? I mean, we acknowledge it, we celebrate the people who fought against it, and we just make a resolution to never let it happen again. I think the same thing would happen in this country if we had a full acknowledgement of what really happened on September 11th. There'd be an initial shock, but inevitably people would accept it, and then we'd have a new kind of American step forward, people who would have learned the lessons of this. And I don't believe that we'll ever have complete paradise in this world, but I do believe that we can set this wrong right for future generations, and we always go step forward in making progress throughout history. So we're coming towards the end of this segment here, and I want to ask again. Anybody can chime in, but what are you ultimately looking for in your own efforts to bring attention to the evidence of AE911Truth? Are you looking for closure for yourself? What is the biggest motivating factor that drives you?
I'll go. I think that keeping it alive is the important thing for me. You mentioned earlier, Andy, that there's a lot of people that say, you guys make a lot of sense, and I can see your point. And I really can't argue with it, but hey, it happened 20 years ago. It's time to move on. It's important for me to keep it alive. We talked earlier too about the fact that the media has changed. It really has changed significantly since I was a teenager, and there was the nightly news that was on for an hour at the most, and that was it. Today we live with nonstop, 24/7 news on the TV, and it's been clearly proven that it was the TV show 60 Minutes changed everything. Up until all the broadcast stations had a mandate that they had to provide some news, and so they did. And the news was a loser. Advertising didn't want anything to do with it. The ratings were terrible on the news, and suddenly 60 Minutes turned it around, and they started to make money on it. And it's almost like yellow journalism from the turn of the last century with William Randolph Hearst. If it bleeds, it leads. He basically knew what it took to sell newspapers, and today's media moguls know what it takes to sell TV, to make money on it. You always have to follow the money. That's what makes America tick. And America has a long history of violence. We are a very violent people. We're a proud people, and we like to celebrate. That we're we can take on anybody, and nobody can beat us. We are number one, and that's going to continue. And to tell the truth about what we did, what was done. In the name of 9/11 it's dreadful. You look at what happened in Vietnam. That was my war. That was the war I had to not go to. And I joined the Army Reserves. I did 6 years as a weekend warrior to get out of that. And those guys, boy, what they went through. And they came home, and a lot of them committed suicide. But nothing on the level of today's soldiers coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq are committing suicide at a horrendous rate. You hear, and you don't hear the stories. The news media learned. The government learned what not to do in Vietnam, you know, and they weren't going to make that mistake again, and they didn't. You know, there's no pictures of the dead bodies coming back. You know, flag draped coffins. You don't see that. It's taboo. You know, you can't do it. You know, we just live in a world that is tightly controlled by a select few people, very few people, and we are controlled. We are, you know, and as long as you and I, you know, the people on this screen here, you know, are ridiculed and called conspiracy theorists and marginalized, you know, that's fine. That's you know, they win, they win, and so it's important to me to keep it alive, to keep the message out there, you know, and more people do. You know, we're at 50% of the nation feels that something was fishy about what we were told about 9/11. And, you know, maybe next year it'll be 51%. I don't know. You know, we'll keep going. How many people believe that Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK with a magic bullet, you know, that made a U-turn midair and was found in pristine condition at the hospital floor? I mean, come on. That's just one example after another. You know, how we're fed stories. It boggles the mind. And it's up to people like you and me, you know, to keep the search for truth alive and well. That's the bottom line for me. I've made my peace with it. You know, I'm one way or the other. I'm okay. You know, there's a tremendous hole in my heart that was left by my buddy Frank. But I've learned to live with it, and I can do that. You know, and that's what he would want me to do. He would absolutely want me to do. And, you know, I love what Bob said about his son, saying, you know, what he would have said about, you know, going to war over that. You know, what are you, crazy? and Frank would have said the same thing, you know. And Frank would have been, if it was me that died that day, and he lived, he'd be doing the same thing I am. Absolutely the same thing. I you know, there's just no question about it. We have to do this. We have to keep it alive. And
Absolutely.
I'm going to do that.
And we're going to do that here. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. And I'm the most optimistic out there. I believe that we are going to have a full disclosure of what happened on that day. I think the conditions are right for it. They're getting closer and closer to where people are just going to turn off the television. They're already doing it. There may be even more people watching this than on CNN right now. Who knows? But basically, yeah, they are turning the televisions off and they are listening to alternative news and looking for true information. That is what is important right now. Yeah. All right. So we're coming to the end here, but I'd like to give the opportunity to anyone who wants to speak to offer any final thoughts, anything that didn't encapsulate into a question. Just speak right up and share your mind.
Sure. I'm just reminded of a quote to just answer your last question. You know, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is when good people do nothing. And that's really what keeps me going. I couldn't, knowing what I know now after doing my due diligence, you know, I couldn't really look myself in the mirror and not do anything and just sit by. So while, you know, I'm not on the front lines, I think I'm doing my fair share. And, you know, if this ever does, you know, come out to be, you know, proven true, you know, can look my kids in the eye and said, you know, I helped fight, you know.
Absolutely. All right. Well, go ahead, Michelle.
So, you know, you talked about conspiracy theory earlier, and I just wanted to jump in on that really quick because I had asked, this is from a friend of mine, and he says, calling something a conspiracy theory is not necessarily disparaging, is it? Because you and I do believe that 9/11 was indeed the result of a conspiracy, no? Now people who call us conspiracy theorists, that's disparaging, because that implies that we are looking for conspiracies where none exist. And I thought that was a really great quote. And I also, the one thing that I say all the time since 9/11, 2001 is, this is the only moment we have. Make it the most precious moment we've got.
Absolutely. Very good. I know that, you know, we had some problems earlier tonight. You've been very patient with us, and we appreciate everything that you have sacrificed over the years to help us, help you. in this important mission, and we are going to keep going and working for you out there, the 9/11 family members, and we appreciate you coming here and being with us tonight. So thank you.
Hey, Michelle, great.
Thanks for having us.
Bob, oh.
So anyway, everyone, thank you so much tonight for joining us and for watching The Unspeakable. Again, the final version is going to be out very soon. I believe, Ted, give me a nod. Is it going to be September 17th? He's giving me the thumbs up there. Okay, very good. So we don't get to see Ted. I'm the one who's in front of the camera tonight. So he's got it easy. But yeah, September 17th, the film is coming out. It'll be a slightly different ending to it. Keep an eye out for that. We'll probably be putting out some announcements. Please, if you got any criticisms or if you have any even good things to say about the film, anything, any kind of thoughts about it, please share it with us. It's The Unspeakable at AE911Truth.org. Don't forget the in the email address. It's The Unspeakable. Write it into us. We'll be reading those over the weekend, and also help us get this film out in front of 2 million people. That's the number we've been told. We're trying to raise the funds to do that into online advertising, different platforms, and we've had evidence that people are watching entire segments. When you see Building 7 come up, people will, I think this happened with 7. Maybe Ted can give me some kind of acknowledgement over there. And people will stop and watch the full 30 seconds of the commercial, and it really does help. So please hit the donate button. $25 gets this movie out in front of 2,000 people. Again, imagine an amphitheater filled with 2,000 people watching this important film, and we want to get their stories out because that's the most important thing. And to any members of the press or government officials who may be watching tonight, we've been at this for a number of years. We've been bringing this information to you. You're not going to wait us out. We're still here. We're still going, and the truth will out. I was a congresswoman. I think it was Marcy Kaptur said this on C-SPAN. Truth will out. That's what we have on our side. We have the science. We have the evidence. So do the right thing, because right now, this moment right here is living in archival footage, and it's being watched by your grandchildren, by people of the future. And they're going to wonder why you didn't speak out, why you just stood in silence. Well, good people like Bob McIlvaine and Michele Little and Bill Brinnier and DePalma had to do your job for you, had to do the work of rallying for a new investigation. Don't be judged poorly by the future. Do the right thing and call for a new investigation and make that process happen. So I want to thank the supporters, and everybody have a great night.